In the ancient world, Sparta, renowned for its unyielding discipline and an army that struck fear into the hearts of enemies across Greece, was long considered the epitome of invincibility. However, like any historical colossus, a time came when its undisputed might was boldly challenged by a new, rapidly rising power, Rome. A natural question arises: how did Rome, this young yet ambitious force, manage to dismantle an ancient legend, a city-state that seemed impregnable? To fully unravel this captivating chapter of history and understand precisely how Rome, through its innovative strategy and overwhelming power, managed to dismantle centuries of Spartan supremacy and forever alter the fate of all Hellas, we must turn back the clock significantly to 371 BC. Indeed, as with the fate of any great civilization, Sparta's decline was not an instantaneous event. For many centuries, Spartan hoplites had reigned supreme on the battlefields, asserting their hegemony. Nevertheless, few could have foreseen that this seemingly unshakable dominance would begin to wane slowly but surely. Sparta's gradual loss of its former power was a long process that effectively began well before its direct confrontation with Rome, specifically after the devastating Battle of Leuctra in 371 BC. When this proud city-state suffered such a significant and humiliating defeat for the first time in its history. It was on July 6, 371 BC, that the world witnessed a pivotal moment. The plain of Leuctra, located in fertile Boeotia, became a fateful arena for a battle destined to forever rewrite the pages of ancient Greek military history. Here, on this fateful field, the Theban army, led by the brilliant strategist Epaminondas, dared to challenge Spartan supremacy, which until then had been considered absolutely unassailable and unshakable. The Theban triumph not only undermined the Spartans' unwavering confidence in their own invincibility, but also unveiled a revolutionary tactical innovation, the effect of which would be felt and replicated in military strategies for many centuries to come. Sparta's army, led by King Cleombrotus I, represented a formidable force, numbering approximately 10,000 hoplites and 1,000 cavalry, totaling between 11,000 and 12,000 warriors. In contrast, the Theban formations under Epaminondas were less numerous, comprising about 6,000 hoplites and 1,500 cavalry, making up 7,500 to 8,500 soldiers. Despite the enemy's clear numerical superiority, the Thebans were determined to prove that strategic mastery, high-quality training, and innovative approaches could prevail over sheer numbers. The battle itself began with a fierce cavalry skirmish, where Theban cavalry demonstrated its superiority, forcing the Spartan cavalry to retreat in disarray to their main infantry lines. Following this, the Theban left flank, arrayed in an innovative, oblique phalanx, swiftly and decisively crashed into the enemy, breaking through the Spartan ranks and slaying Cleombrotus I. This was the first Spartan king to fall in battle in over a century. The monarch's death instantly and completely shattered the Spartans' morale, leading to a rapid disorganization of their ranks and a panicked flight of the remaining troops. The Spartans suffered catastrophic losses, estimated at 1,000 to 4,000 killed warriors, while the Thebans lost only about 300 soldiers. The triumph of Thebes not only challenged long-standing Spartan dominance in the Greek arena but also became a turning point, marking the beginning of a period of Theban hegemony in Greece. This era was characterized not only by daring tactical innovations on the battlefields, but also by significant political transformations. However, as often happens with the sudden rise of one power, this ascent of Thebes inevitably generated resistance and opposition from other influential Greek city-states. While ancient Sparta gradually recovered from the devastating defeat inflicted upon it at Leuctra, a new mighty power was inexorably rising on the horizon of the Hellenic world, ready to challenge the established order. This was Rome, which in the 2nd century BC was experiencing a period of unprecedented ascent that forever changed the balance of power in the ancient world. After its fateful victory in the Second Punic War over Carthage, the Roman Republic not only asserted but definitively solidified its dominant position in the Western Mediterranean. This grand triumph over its Punic rivals not only secured Rome control over strategically important territories, but also elevated it to the pinnacle of military and political power in the region. However, This impressive success was merely a harbinger of events to come. Possessing highly disciplined legions and an exceptionally effective political structure, Rome prepared for expansion eastward, towards a direction where the once mighty Greek city-states found themselves in a state of deep vulnerability and fragmentation. Hellas itself was in a state of chronic political instability during that period. Many of its famous city-states, including Athens, Sparta, and Thebes, despite their enduring wealth of cultural traditions and heritage, were exhausted and fragmented. This was the result of protracted Macedonian wars and a series of internal conflicts that undermined their former greatness. Under these circumstances, the Achaean League, a confederation of Greek city-states genuinely striving to preserve Hellenic independence and unity, began to increasingly recognize the growing threat emanating from Rome. Meanwhile, the Roman state steadily expanded its influence throughout the Mediterranean region, initially under the guise of commercial and diplomatic objectives. However, very soon Rome's true interests began to manifest more clearly and aggressively, foreshadowing an inevitable clash of civilizations. The Roman Republic chose a strategy of veiled protectorate, offering military support, and forming alliances with individual Greek city-states during their periods of greatest need. Nevertheless, these agreements often proved extremely advantageous for Rome, which began to exert decisive influence over the internal affairs of these cities and gained unimpeded access to their wealth and vast territories. Simultaneously, Rome continued to steadily consolidate its position in the region, gaining increasingly complete control over vital Mediterranean trade routes and forming alliances with certain influential local powers. Rome had transformed into such an insurmountable military force that, when faced with any opposition, its disciplined legions could immediately crush any resistance. Moreover, Rome established itself as a skillful diplomatic power, building an extensive network of loyal allies and dependent vassals, while simultaneously striking fear into those who dared to oppose its expansion. Beginning in the mid-2nd century BC, Rome's presence in Greece steadily intensified. Rome not only began to openly interfere in local feuds but also purposefully sought complete dominance over the Greek city-states that still retained remnants of their original independence. The Achaean League, whose ambitious attempts to consolidate Greek lands under a single administration, inevitably became a direct target of the irresistibly growing Roman hegemony. As Rome systematically increased its influence over the Greek world, Hellas slowly but surely prepared for its fate to be decided in the hands of this new, formidable power, whose assertion on the world stage occurred with truly unprecedented might. By 146 BC, the Roman Republic had long ceased to be merely a rising power. It had transformed into a colossal force, actively determining the destinies of peoples across the entire Mediterranean. Against this backdrop, the Achaean League, attempting to defend its independence, resisted the encroaching shadow of Rome with all its might. However, an unyielding Rome would not tolerate any force challenging its supremacy. The culmination of the confrontation came when the Achaean League, seeing Rome's increasing power and fearing for its autonomy, launched an aggression against Sparta. Sparta, at that time an ally of Rome, was viewed by the League as a serious obstacle on the path to its cherished goal, the unification of all Greece under its flag. In response to this audacious and ill-advised step, Rome, using the same proven tactic it had employed against many other peoples before, immediately dispatched its army with a single, resolute goal: to break all resistance and finally put an end to the last glimmers of Greek autonomy. The atmosphere in the region became extremely tense, like a fire engulfing a dry forest. At this critical time, Roman consul Lucius Mummius Achaicus was entrusted with the crucial mission of resolving the brewing conflict. Consul Mummius, displaying strategic coolness, advanced steadily but relentlessly and with unwavering determination. The cities of the Achaean League he encountered along his path surrendered one after another without a fight or were stormed, like falling dominoes. Not a single settlement of the Achaean League could withstand the powerful and unstoppable onslaught of the disciplined Roman legions. It was only a matter of time before the triumphant march of the Roman troops reached Corinth, the main stronghold of the rebels and the epicenter of all resistance. The fall of Corinth was truly a horrifying spectacle. The Roman power showed no mercy whatsoever. The ancient city was mercilessly plundered, engulfed in flames, and reduced to piles of rubble. Men who were fortunate enough to survive on the battlefield were either put to death or taken captive, while their wives and children were doomed to slavery. Rome did not merely triumph over the settlement. It practically erased from the face of the earth one of the most significant cultural centers of all Greece, as if aiming to destroy the very memory of its defiance and resistance. Following the stunning triumph of Roman arms, the Achaean League was finally dissolved, and all of Greece was officially integrated into the mighty Roman Republic. What had once been a vibrant constellation of independent city-states, each with its unique culture and ancient traditions, now found itself under the comprehensive yoke of Roman rule. The territory of Greece was administratively divided into two new provinces, Achaea and Epirus. And the once destroyed Corinth, that symbol of Greek resistance, was later rebuilt at the direction of Julius Caesar, though already under the vigilant control of Rome. Thus, the Achaean War marked not merely the conclusion of an armed conflict, it became the irreversible collapse of the age-old Greek dream of true independence. With the final fall of the Achaean League, Rome asserted its position as the undisputed and dominant power throughout the entire eastern Mediterranean. After the devastation of Corinth, Sparta, once one of the most formidable and influential city-states of the Hellenic world, faced a radically changed reality. Greece, now under undivided Roman rule, underwent fundamental transformations. Sparta, in turn, no longer possessed sufficient power to resist the increasing pressure from Rome. Following the Achaean War, this city was incorporated into the vast Roman possessions. However, unlike many other Greek settlements, Sparta was not destroyed or plundered, as it had historically been an ally of the Romans. The Romans, possessing pragmatic minds, recognized and valued Sparta's symbolic significance. Even under Roman control, the city continued to retain a certain degree of autonomy, but its role in world politics and culture turned out to be completely different from its peak of glory. No longer did famous warriors march through the streets of Sparta, nor was there an invincible army ready to engage in battle. Over the subsequent centuries, Sparta became a silent witness to the steady decline of its political and military influence. The city lost its former strategic importance, gradually fading into obscurity, while Roman might spread across the world. Of great Sparta, only inspiring stories and heroic legends remained, which, nevertheless, could not restore its former power and grandeur.